Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the meeting of the Business Regeneration and Planning Overview Scrutiny Committee. Today's date being the 27th of April 23. Since we've got members of the public, I'll go through the evacuation procedure. Fire drill is not expected, so if alarm does sound, please evacuate the building as quickly and as quietly as possible. Please use the stairs, do not use the lifts. Once outside the building, please gather opposite the town hall at Lloyd's Bank. Exit by the doors through which you came in, or by the doors clearly marked with the green fire signs. If you need assistance, please make yourself known, and one of the members of staff will assist. This meeting is being recorded for future publication on the council's website. It's also live streamed. Can I ask you please all to turn off your mobile phones, or at least switch them to silent, please. And ask all public speakers that they should keep their points relevant to the agenda items they are speaking on. Thank you very much. I would also like to remind everybody that this is an official council meeting and to conduct themselves accordingly. Members of the public will be given the right to speak at the appropriate time, but please, again, stick to the agenda item they are talking on. Regards. And I will not tolerate any outbursts from the public gallery. Thank you. We have apologies from Councillor Coventry Morton, who is being substituted by Councillor Green. Thank you, Councillor Green. Councillor Graham Morton, Councillor Harbison, I believe, is substituting. Thank you very much, Councillor Harbison. We also have Councillor Evans, unfortunately no substitute, and Councillor Neil Phillips also sends their apologies. Apart from that, we're okay. Yes? Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Green.
Councillor Hartson has also been
Oh, yes, indeed. Make note of that, please. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Green. Okay, before you shall have the minutes of the previous meeting, the 9th of March. Are we happy that I sign that off as a true and accurate record thereof? Councillor Brown? Thank you. Indeed. Thank you very much. Any matters arising? Any points of clarification on those minutes? Everybody happy with that? Thanking you. Okay. Declaration of interests. Obviously, we have substitutes here who are not on the current listing, but obviously they are on the main agenda items. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to point out that there's a typo on page 10 under Councillor Coventry Morton's interest. It's not St Nicola Chamberlain, it's St Nicholas Chamberlain.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Brown. Apart from that, everybody else's interests are declared as is in the schedule. Thank you. Item number 5, we have public consultations for item 7. Mrs. Brown, Anne Brown, is that correct? Sorry, Anne Taylor, sorry. Okay, and then we have Peter Smith on 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. I will call those to a point when the agenda item comes up. Thank you. Item 6 is questions for the Cabinet. We just have one member of the Cabinet, Cabinet Richard Smith. Do we have any questions for Councillor Smith? Councillor Condacor.
Thank you very much, Chair. I actually pre-warned Councillor Smith for these questions to get so I get a better answer. I hope that's okay. So there's 2 questions. The first one, I was talking by email to Councillor Smith about a month ago about another council that's having a new policy of ensuring that developments have to have enough sewage capacity in the network before they're allowed to operate. So we know we've got problems in Wennington, Bulkington and various other places where the sewage network hasn't yet been upgraded. So I would like Councillor Smith maybe to give us an update on having such a policy in this borough, because we've got quite a few applications coming in. I mean, there's a new one on Top Farm that's going to put more sewage into the Weddington network at Milby Drive. And our pumping systems haven't yet been upgraded. They're promising us upgrades, but the water companies have to allow connections. Yeah, there's all sorts of regulations, but we should actually try and hold off development or ensure developments have extra large tanks so that they're not overloading the system before we get the upgrade. So if Councillor Smith could explain if he's accepted the idea of having such a policy and how we progress with it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Smith, please respond.
Yes, thanks for the question, and thank you for sending it through earlier. It really does help. As you know, at the moment, there's no policy basis to make a request of developers to do upfront sewerage works before they commence, but we are aware it's an issue, and it has been a problem on occasion, I have to admit. It's a good point you raise. So I can confirm we are considering it, and we've had a look at the policy work we're doing as part of the Borough Plan Review, and we feel that's the best vehicle to get this done, because any policy we introduce will need to be authorised by an inspector there. So I can also confirm we've been in touch with Severn Trent Water, as well as comparing notes with another authority. I think you gave us the lead on that. They're trying to address the same problem, West Oxfordshire District Council, as part of their plan review. They're following the same process we are. So I am hopeful we can create a policy. We're very positive that we want to do this, that would stand scrutiny by the inspector when he considers our plan review, hopefully in the not too distant future. And just before I came to this meeting tonight, I saw an email come through from Severn Trent with some quite positive comments. I haven't read through it properly yet, but I'll share some of those outcomes with you apart from this meeting when I've had a chance to sort of absorb. But they're making positive overtures at the moment, so I'm hopeful we can deliver a policy on this, and it will be part of the Borough Plan Review.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Condacor, yes.
Yeah, thanks for that. And just to follow up, it would be useful if it was mentioned a bit more in planning applications to whether the sewage network can or can't yet cope, because it's a useful thing to get clarity, because Severn Trent haven't been very good in the past at responding to planning. So that's positive. My second question, which I also gave you notice for, the hotel development on Abbey Street, there's a new application in May, a year ago actually, to actually make minute changes. A lot of it's fairly trivial things like safety railings on the roof, etc. But one of the things that's caused a problem is they wanted to raise it up slightly more and put it on a pedestal, which changes all the slopes and pavements. And bizarrely, that still hasn't been approved. I believe the problem's with county rather than the borough, but it seems bizarre that we're building a hotel which is probably being built to plans that don't match what's got permission. So it'd be really good, Councillor Smith, if we could have some clarity on where that's got to. And my concern was, by raising the hotel up, we've made the pavements extra slopey, because they need to contour up, and it's across what they call a crossfall. So as you raise things up, you then have a... so it's not a big issue. Yeah, you should be able to just design it out, but it seems to have fallen between the cracks. So it'd be useful if Councillor Smith could give us an update and undertake to try and get the issues sorted around the hotel. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Condacor. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't give you much of an update because, as you said, the problem isn't with us, it's with Warwick County Council. I mean, it is, you're right, it's a non-material amendment, and as such, we don't usually consult on those, unless specifically, as in this case, it's with another sort of regulatory authority. So it is a non-material minor amendment. Because it's a county issue, we have put it to them, but we all know the problems we're having with county highways at the moment in terms of their capacity issues, the fact that they can't recruit to post, and they are way behind with lots of issues that are affecting us with lots of developments. So I can't give you much of an improved view of this, other than to say they are in discussion with the agents. We are constantly chasing them because we want this resolved as much as the developers do. We will keep on to it, but further than that, I actually can't comment on it because it's not in our gift to do so.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Any other comments? Yes. Councillor Cope, please.
Yeah, it's just a point of clarification on the first question, following on. Am I right in saying that until there's a policy in place, that on planning, we wouldn't be able to condition anything, such as putting a tank in, which is what the councillor requested, which I actually think is quite a good idea, but we can't condition that until such time as there is a policy. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely correct. Items like this do need a policy in place, a local policy, and it is something we're seriously looking at. I think Councillor Condacor has raised and pushed on a very pertinent issue, and we are looking to do something that will make it easier at the planning committee to do these sort of things. But more importantly, it's better for everybody. It's ultimately better for the developer as well if these things are sorted out in advance. So, yes, we're on it.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Condacor, another question?
This one, thank you for those answers. And it's bizarre that we can condition them not discharging surface water and have to have a tank for the surface water, but we can't make them do something about the sewage, which is far worse. But my question I want to have to be written down cause it's to the leader of the council. We've had various things like the museum being closed for the refurbishment, etc. And I was going to ask the council leader if he could produce a timetable of when the various things are now expected to happen, so we can see like when the hotel is due to actually open, when the museum's due to be closed, when the library's due to be moved to its new site. Because if we could have a timetable off the leader, even a rough timetable, we could then look at what mitigations would make sense. For example, if the museum was going to be closed and we had the spare library building come available about the same time, we could actually have a temporary exhibition in the old library. So I say, if you could ask, minute it that we ask for a timetable of these developments, so we roughly know over the next couple of years what's being built when and the sort of phasing. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Condacor. I'm sure that's possible if we could ask the leader to put, a timetable together and circulate it accordingly to the members of this committee. Will that satisfy your requirements? Thank you, Councillor Condacor. Any other questions for Cabinet, albeit like Councillor Condacor, that we could forward on to the leader? No. Excuse me, Mr. Smith. Excuse me, Mr. Smith. Excuse me, Mr. Smith. It is not your opportunity at this moment. This is opportunity to speak for the members to ask questions to the Cabinet members. You will have your opportunity when the item comes up. Excuse Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith. Please, you will have opportunity to talk when the item comes up, when I ask you to do so. Thank you. Thank you. That's the end of item 6. We move forward to item number 7, which is the integrated performance report given by Steve Gore. Bear with us 1 second. Yep. Steve, you with us?
Yeah. Sorry, Chair. I was wondering what was going on.
That's
there.
fine, thank you.
Yeah,
I'll leave that with you.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so the integrated performance report end of third quarter summary 2020-22-23 is as follows. Appendix A, finance linked to performance, shows that of the 7 measures reported to the panel, 3 have improved and 4 have declined. The decline measures are the number of market stores hired in Bedworth, Nuneaton Town Centre footfall, Bedworth Town Centre footfall, and the average time to process planning applications. In relation to the strategic risk register, which is Appendix B, at the end of the third quarter, of the 3 risks within the remit of the panel, 1 is net red, 1 is net amber, and 1 is net green. Net meaning given the mitigations that have been put in place. The net red risk is R4, failure to maintain the economic vibrancy of the borough and the town centres. There were 2 main updates this quarter. R6, arson and accidental fire. A planned action has been added to review business continuity plans. And R8, failure to deliver key elements of the corporate plan. A planned action has been added to review the BAB plan against external factors. In relation to Appendix C, the Strategic Performance Report Executive Summary, of the 19 measures within the report, 8 are green, 3 are amber, and 8 are red. The amber and red measures, which are shown under areas for improvement, are general fund revenue, business rates collection, rent collection, processing of new benefits claims, working days lost to short-term sickness absence, working days lost to long-term sickness absence, short-term return to work interview compliance within 3 days, agency staff spend, building a better borough monitoring, health and safety monitoring, and employee annual development review monitoring. I'll come back to Appendix D as there's been further information requested for the meeting. Appendix E, complaints. Of the 770 received, 759 were completed, 11 were outstanding, and 207 were late. That is outside the timescale of 10 days. So coming back to Appendix D, which is Freedom of Information and Environmental Information Regulation requests, 534 were received, 532 completed, 2 were outstanding, and 112 were late, which was outside the 20-day timescale. In relation to Freedom of Information requests, additional information has been provided by a designated officer following a request from the panel. I think hard copies of this information have been circulated prior to the meeting, but I'll just highlight the key points. So the key points in terms of freedom of information, regular requests. We do receive regular requests from organisations, for example, a monthly request for all information appertaining to any pauper funerals that have taken place within the borough for the previous month. We also receive regular requests from certain members of the public. These requests cover a multitude of topics, and as they're all different, we cannot pull them together and treat them as requests as one similar or overlapping request. In terms of hot topics, examples where this has happened recently are the skate park inspection and removal, the lily pad fountain removal, Bedworth Civic Hall, and renaming of Coton Road. In terms of vexatious requests, we've received multiple requests in a short period of time. For example, we had 16 requests regarding the Bedworth Civic Hall in 2 days from the same requester asking for similar or overlapping information. Where this has happened, we've issued a refusal notice to stop further requests. And in relation to cost of the compliance, guidance states that no request should take more than 18 hours to complete. Where we have had requests that would go over and above the 18-hour threshold, we can levy a charge against that requester. We can charge £25 for each hour over and above the 18-hour threshold. In all cases where we have asked the requester for the fee, they declined their request or reduced the scope. And according to the officer, it's impossible to quantify the number of hours taken up with officers' time on requests. as the officer's role is to ensure compliance with the statutory timeline. And that completes the summary for the integrated performance report, Chair.
Thank you, Steve. I'll take questions from the floor first, and then our public speakers. Do we have any questions from the members first, please? Councillor Condacor.
I think it might be better to let the public speak first, because they may give us items for debate, and it's normal to do it that way round.
In which case we have item, where are we? Item 7. Anne Taylor, please, if you have a question.
Oh, hello. I've just come to speak about one topic which is quite close to my heart, and I'm very concerned about it, and it's the market. And I'd like to know what plans there are to revive the market, and why the market doesn't appear in any of the literature I've seen about transforming Nuneaton. I haven't seen anything about it at all. And yet, we're a market town. We've got a medieval market charter. We've got a heritage of the market. The market used to be vibrant, about 10 times the size it is now, and it used to bring lots and lots of trade into the town. And surely we should be aiming to revive it to that kind of capacity again. So what's being done about it, and why is there no mention of it in all this transforming Nuneaton? There's nothing on the literature I've seen. I get no replies when I try and send emails to find out what's going on. I know that there's just been a rent increase, which I think is insult to injury, because the levels are already higher than any of the surrounding towns. So people are struggling. Several stores I know just can't make ends meet, and they've had to give up. So we've got more and more gaps, which is the opposite of what we want. Surely it'd be better to have lower rents, get more people in, get back to the variety of stores that we used to have, and then see more people coming into the town, which you've just remarked, somebody's just remarked, on the lessening of footfall, which is, it's obvious to anybody who goes through the town regularly, as I do, that footfall's down drastically, and the market's surely a vital instrument to improve that. Yep. Oh.
Thank you. Yes, I understand your concerns, and yes, obviously the figures have shown the fact that the footfall has been reduced. The number of market stalls, as you say quite rightly, is falling. Unfortunately, the leader of the council here is not on this. It's his brief, in all fairness, with regards to those questions you've asked. What I'll do is I'll forward those questions to their leader so that he can then respond accordingly. If you'd like to leave your email address with Maria, we will then forward you the responses to that. Thank you very much. Mr. Smith, you have a question, I believe, on the same item. Is that correct?
First of all, the FOI system seems to be broken. Decline requests already outnumber those that you allow. We know that you've got a new system here where everything's at your discretion. Me attending, anyone attending, what petitions are allowed. So everything's at your discretion. The FOI system seems to be failing. Yeah, it's all right addressing the ones that you've answered, but it's failing in the ones that you've denied, and for what reason. And to go on from what the lady was saying, transforming Nuneaton and the town deal board decisions have catastrophically affected on our market and existing small businesses. These special interest groups made up of outside cult interests have destroyed Nuneaton as a market town. Closing the Abbey Street car park, which was a lifeline that kept the people visiting Nuneaton, has cost over £500,000 in lost revenue, over £250,000 less visits to the town in a year. Added to the destruction of the lily pad fountain and the toxic environment created by this council, the residents ignoring the residents' wishes and the insult them when they turn up here to raise their concerns. It blocks, bans anyone and everyone who dares to complain about the councillors, cabinet and executives who are currently running this council.
Mr. Smith, you're here
That
to...
if
Mr.
residents
Smith,
are choosing
Mr.
to
Smith,
go outside the borough to
Mr.
shop,
Smith, you're here to
and
talk about the
socially-
integrated report. That question...
this is I'm putting what the people see from the outside. You're locked up now because you never go out there. Yeah, you just sit in your special interest groups. Yeah.
Mr. Smith, please adhere to the questions relating to the integrated report.
I'm talking to destruction and Nuneaton. It's regeneration. You've destroyed it. You've allowed outside groups, as Mr. Condahar was luring to, yeah? Outside groups destroying the outside of the town. We ain't got the infrastructure, yeah? And you're wasting money on hotels, yeah? You're allowing outside groups. These decisions weren't made by anyone in here. One or two special interests that ain't here tonight, yeah? Nearly £2 million to do a haul up, yeah? For an outside religious cult, yeah? Buying it for them. You're not making any decisions in here. The decisions about this borough that are destroying it. You've destroyed our market with that car park, yeah? You do nothing to help the market holders, yeah? You ought to be ashamed. You should call yourself the Nuneaton councillors. Yeah, you've allowed outside interests to destroy this town. It's about time you stood up.
Mr. Smith, you've had your time. Thank you. Any questions from members? Councillor Condacor.
There's a massive amount to unpick in all this lot, and we're told, I mean, if you look on page 23, it actually says the closure of the Abbey Street car park, that the usage hasn't transferred to the other car parks. We were told when it happened that the people who were parking in Abbey Street car park had now moved to park in the Roke Walk or Harefield Road. We now have the finance report saying that didn't happen, and we're actually losing footfall because of the closures. I've repeatedly asked for improvements to Victoria Street car park, because if you go on a rainy day, the puddles are full of water, it's unlined, the lighting's poor at night, and many people do not even know it exists. And we keep asking, if you're losing the whole of Abbey Street car park, can we not do stuff to make the other car parks feel safer? And a lot of people really do not like multi-storey car parks. We see this at the back of the town hall yesterday. I was here for the market, and obviously I came in to do some stuff at the council house, and the car park, they're queuing around the surface car parks because people like the surface car parks. There was a queue outside the ticket machine because people couldn't see the little silly numbers to type their licence plate in. We're really shooting ourselves in the foot by not making the car parking as easy and as pleasant as possible. And then we have the stupidity of having 3 parking spaces outside there, one for the mayor, one for the deputy mayor, and one for the post van, all sitting barricaded up when we've got a queue of people who would pay us £1.50 to get a parking ticket to park. So I do ask that we look at the parking issues, particularly because it's reported we're losing trade because of the street closure of Abbey Street. And people are voting with their feet. If it's fussy and difficult to get a surface parking space in the Nuneaton, they'll go to Hinckley or they'll go to Coventry. So I think that's a big issue we need to be looking at as a committee next year, and also trying to get the officers to make things easier for the public. We seem to penalise the public, saying you've got to type in your licence plate and then giving them something at ground level to type it in. This £1.50 idea is everywhere, and that really makes it cheap for 3 hours, but really expensive if you're popping in for half hour. We just don't seem to be getting the message that people want to pop in the Nuneaton for different times, and one size doesn't fit all. So I do ask we look at the data in here, which shows £500,000 deficit on parking, and we actually try and get some of the problems sorted out. The other thing I think we need to look at, and it's worth it, is the market stalls. It mentions the loss of the flower stall and the burger van. if we're going backwards and some of our really key traders are leaving the market, we have a serious problem. We need to be trying to keep the ones we've got and getting new ones. And we just don't seem to care that we've lost these people. I mean, yeah, they're our business. Every market trader, the flower trader, for example, people will then pay to park, get the flowers and get the fish, or get the... Yeah, people will have a journey around town, and you take out one of the key traders and you totally destroy the viability of your town, because that footfall the flower market trader says, it drives the other things. So I think if you look at the report, it is really damning how badly we're doing in the town centre, and we really do, as Mrs Taylor says, need a recovery plan. We need to actually look at what things need to come in, how we need to get more market stalls. Do we need more easy to pay by card? One of the market traders was talking about the electricity supply. You know, we have a different electricity supply apparently in our market than all the other markets. And so we need to be solving some of these problems, and we haven't got an officer here again to look at these issues. And I do think maybe a session just dedicated to the Nuneaton market, and then maybe one to Bedworth town centre later, would really start to get people answering questions and coming up with, you know, some of these things are near zero cost. Yeah, it's just trying to change the rules or try and get things working better. So I don't know if the panel agrees, but I do think we need to look in more detail at getting these things right, and asking people, yeah, maybe doing a quick survey of what the issues are. I mean, we moved the fountain, and we haven't moved the market stalls along to use that gap. So we've still got benches that will come up later with market stalls in front of them that are unusable, and then big gaps. So it's just getting... In the old days, we had Alan Otti. It was absolutely superb. He got this town to be an award-winning market, and it was because he was down in the market, sorting out problems, talking to traders. And we just don't seem to be doing that now. And there's so many little things. I had a potential trader contact me. She has childcare responsibilities. She needs to leave mid-afternoon. We turned her away because it's too difficult to actually have a market stall where the market trader can have responsibilities for children and have to leave at 2:30 or whatever. Yeah, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. So I don't know if other members agree with me, but I think we need to look at this urgently. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Condacor. Mike?
Sorry.
Thank you. Any other comments relating to, again, what Councillor Condacor... Yes, Councillor Cape. Thank you.
Yeah, and its relation, sorry, I'm terrible with names, I can't remember your name, but what the lady said as well. I think that there's been a lot of very valid points raised, and can I suggest that Councillor Condacor puts it in as a work scheme suggestion to look at the car parks. As he knows, that's the way that we can have real scrutiny and give answers on that with accountability to officers, etc. So, as he obviously has researched this a bit more than me, perhaps he can put it forward as a work programme, then we can look at it. Because I myself, because I'm not at the core of everything that's going on, I get a little bit confused when people start relating issues that for me are not directly related. So for example, the 3 parking spaces that you mentioned that would bring in potentially £1.50 every couple of hours, the survey really needs to look at why, for example, the multi-storey car park is hardly ever used. It could be partially due to safety, but I personally think it's in a spot whereby people, and I know them, and I'm not going to say I've done it myself, but I know people who have, they just go into the supermarket and park and then go into the town rather than pay £1.50. So to save the £1.50, they'll park for 2 hours in the supermarket, which is giving free parking for that period of time. Similarly, on the stall holders, I don't know the plans, but I do, in the background, I've heard that we have actually got councillors who are market traders, so they have got a valid interest and indeed have spoken out on many occasions about things, including that they are glad that the lily pad is gone. The point that you raised about it spreading down there and it being utilised now is something that perhaps could be looked at in the work stream. I just think that there's a lot of quotes that are put in that are oversimplistic, and we actually need the data and facts to be able to argue it properly. So that's kind of supporting you, I think. But also kind of saying that we're not as blasé about it as people make out.
Thank you, Councillor Cape. Councillor Green, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Obviously, as a sub, I'm quite new to this committee, but I'll pass some comments. I do agree with Councillor Cape. Our mayor is a long time supporter and market trader, and there is nobody more passionate about the market in this borough than our mayor. He regularly attends the market, and unfortunately, financial times have changed. People don't use the market as much as they used to when I was younger. People use Amazon, etc. While we want to maintain the market, people, the general public, do not support it in the same way they used to. As well as that, it's been reported in local news that Nuneaton has been, and the whole borough, has been named for 2023 onwards, the most investable borough in the whole country, down to the Transforming Nuneaton projects. And I'm very proud because I've not, unlike Mr. Smith, I'm not a long-time political activist. I was a resident who became a councillor 2 years ago to improve this town. And I see the improvements with the lily pad being removed and the open sewer which was below it being capped. I'm very passionate about this town, and this council is doing a fantastic job in putting the prosperity of this town forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Green. Appreciate that comment. Any other comments from any other member? Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. A couple of quick comments here, because I think some of these things that we're talking about here now are the result of change. And when we make changes to try and bring about improvements, it's very easy to become distracted by the change as opposed to what's the desired outcome of the change. And we get distracted by that. We only have to look at the arguments over the brutalist lily pad fountain that only a supporter of President Putin could actually fall in love with. The same sort of thing that you only see in communist countries. As a typical example of that. But what I would say, just to pick up on something Councillor Condacor mentioned about the height of the keypad for putting in your registration plate at the car park. Yeah, they're quite low to people like you and I, perhaps able-bodied, but they're the right height for somebody who's in a wheelchair. And that's why they're at that height. And you go all over the country, you see these keypads at that height. It's not unique to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Mr. Smith, please. Mr. Smith, please. Thank you. Councillor Condacor.
Chair, are we moving on to the risk register now, or? Yes, by all means. Because I read it at lunchtime, and I was appalled by how out of date it is. It's full of things like, if you look at the resources and assurances, the whole thing needs a rewrite because it's like got CW LEP in there and things. This register is getting very, very dated. A lot of the things in here have already happened, or organisations no longer exist, etc. And it's just getting longer and longer. I mean, you look at page 33, and it goes to page 34, 35, 36. There's one risk, and it's got pages and pages of stuff. A lot of the earlier stuff is total bunkum now. Yeah, so I think it really does need a massive tidy, so we actually see which are the key things that are trying to mitigate particular risks. And a lot of the things that are supposed to give us reassurance, yeah, they just don't exist now. Yeah, minutes of the meetings of the CWLEP and Joint Committee. Well, the LEP's been dissolved, and I think the Joint Committee doesn't exist anymore either. So, and I'm really afraid of this town centre viability thing. And it's the same for Bedworth. Bedworth has got even worse problems than Nuneaton in terms of its town centre. And on the other report, it doesn't mention the failure of the street markets a lot of the time to attract traders. Yeah, we need to be looking at both towns. And Councillor Green was talking about how we have the opportunity of being marked down as one of the best opportunities on this survey. Effectively, what that means is we're in such a dire place, we've actually got a lot more room to grow. It is not they had a survey of how places were the most successful places, and we were actually failing so badly, but had so much money coming in that we had lots of opportunity. If you're actually not very good at sport, you've got a lot of opportunity to improve. When you do your first park run and you go around in 40 minutes, you've got lots of opportunity to go around in 30 minutes. If you're actually fit and lean and you go around in 25 minutes, it's very hard to come around in 24. All this stuff about opportunity, yes, we've got lots of opportunity, but we're taking none of it. So I say risk ratio needs improving, and we need to get our terminology right about opportunity, because opportunity is a twin-edged sword. It means actually you're in a mess.
Thank you, Councillor Condacor. Steve, are you still with us?
Yes, I am, Chair, and I can address Councillor Condacor's point on the risk register in terms of management team are well aware that a fundamental review of the register is required, and that was going to coincide with the new organisational structure and redesignated responsibilities, and that's planned on the next quarter.
Thank you, Steve, for that. Hopefully that will satisfy from that point of view with yourself, Councillor Condacor, a review of the risk register. Thank you. Councillor Cape.
Again, there are elements I can agree with because looking through the data myself, I sometimes find it a little bit of a task to analyse it. And actually, I was a trained analyst at one stage of my career, so I'm used to dealing with lots of facts. But I would agree that there are elements of it that are quite difficult to weave through. On the other hand, there are some of these things that all get put into one basket again. And for example, talking about Bedworth and that there's no plan for that. In fact, I think the councillor is aware of the fact that there is a review being conducted at the moment with funding that was achieved to look at exactly what can be done in Bedworth in order to meet the needs that the market traders there actually express. So I'm very simple. I like things logical, and let's deal with one theme at a time, then we can answer one theme at a time. So that's the comment on Bedworth. As to the market usage, I'm not a market trader myself. However, I have been involved in the markets at Attleborough. And what I've found there is that I will visit it. I'll take my mother to visit that because it's artisan and there's, like small traders that do things that actually interest me, not mass traders. And sometimes getting that balance right between how many traders are actually selling a unique commodity and how many of the stalls are overlapping in what they sell, I think that is one for free market economics. I mean, Adam Smith was the guy that said, let the market decide. He came from Kirkcaldy, where I came from originally. And sometimes it is that the market itself will balance out. And if we can get a different offering in, and that's where I do agree with you, that perhaps we need a working group to look at the balance that we can get in. But I do think that in the background, they're looking and considering, I believe, what kind of artisan markets they can get in as well to supplement the other offerings that are going on at the moment. But I'm not an expert on it. I would like an answer on that, however, from one of the grown-ups.
Thank you, Councillor Cape. Condacor.
Yeah, just coming back on that, the Attleborough market's been really successful because it is this artisan, very friendly to the traders. And I think from the trader or potential trader that talked to me, I think maybe a subsection of the market that is more artisan, maybe in Abbey Street or Harefield Road, might work, where we have the sort of the current traders that are very, but actually have a bit that's a bit more laissez-faire in terms of some of the regulation we have for our long-term traders. but also more flexible in terms of being able to leave earlier. Because I say our current market's not very family friendly, which is why I think a lot of people like to trade in places like Attleborough, where it's a weekend or whatever. So we should maybe look at that as well. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. Just to come in on that, as you know, we've dipped our toe in the water of organising artisan markets, and successful they've been so far and growing. And you know, we've also clearly made changes to bringing the market in Bedworth outside on 2 days a week, and they've proven to be the days with the highest trade. So it goes to show that, yes, it's not perfect and times are difficult, but we are doing our best to respond to this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. I take your point, Councillor Condacor, with regards to issues where traders want to leave earlier for whatever reason they might do. But the problem with that is the fact that once one trader decides to leave on an early basis, others will tend to follow. So then the market gets depleted. So all of a sudden, where you might have had an 80% occupation on the market at 1 o'clock, all of a sudden, by 2:30, you're down to about 30% or whatever the time factor is. And then that stops people, customers coming along because they think, well, there's no point going in the afternoon because there's no one there. So sticking to a time, and this is again something that I've been listening to some of the traders telling me, those are dedicated ones who do stay to the last moment, the ones that leave cause more of an issue to their trade than they do to the people who actually leave, because they're leaving it in an open situation where it's a poor coverage. There's not the opportunity for people to see a number of different stalls. Is that a subsequent question?
Just coming back on that, that's why I'm suggesting an Abbey Street or out of the way area for more of an artisan thing, so it didn't actually mess up the main run on Queen's Road.
Okay, take your point. There's no reason why we can't set up a working party against this committee, bringing in Jonathan in terms of the market manager. And we can sit around and then organise and discuss opportunity and the vision for the marketplace in both towns. Would that be something that would interest this committee? Yeah, all in favour of that? Thank you. I will speak to Jonathan and see what we can do and get a working party set together between now and the next meeting of this committee. And then so at least we've got some information, some concept ideas, and see what we can do to improve the market and what is in place to improve the market in both towns. Councillor Condacor.
Yeah, and I think it'd be useful to make that open to working groups can have members from any working party, and particularly if we've got some market traders on some of the other OSPs, it might be useful to try and get as many people involved with experience, because the more, not ridiculous numbers, but a reasonable sized working party would get a better result.
Take that on board. Thank you. Any other comments regarding to the integrated report before I let Steve go? Yes.
Just one technical question on the financial information. The expected outturn, it was exactly the same on Q2 as Q3. So am I right in assuming that we've actually really been given Q2 outturn forecasts? Because I can't believe the forecast is exactly the same to the penny.
Steve, can you answer that one for us, please?
Well, I can't answer in terms of the detail or whether there's been an error, but I believe we've been given the third quarter information, not the second quarter.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Steve before I let him go? No? In which case, thank you very much, Steve, for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Chair.
Bye now.
Bye.
Where are we? Integrated report. Okay, item number 8, the Lily Fountain. We have a report in the minutes. Sorry, in the agenda, I should say, sorry. We made a request that was to be brought before this committee was a layout of the potential vision for the lily pad, be it both temporary and long term. You should have a copy of that. Do I have any comments or questions relating to it?
Chair, you have come to speak.
Oh, sorry, yes, we have. Mr. Smith, I apologise. You're down for this one as well, aren't you? So, Mr. Smith.
This is as shoddy as the contractors used in the removal project, who failed to meet even the basic health and safety regulations. In the 40 years I've worked, I ain't seen anything like this since the first time that it was done, 40 years ago. The work practice, it was a more luck than judgment that no one was injured. They failed to turn up with the basics in health and safety precautions, although they were egged on to carry on working by managers from this place. Yeah, it's shocking, and the fag packet sketch just sums up this council. Not fit for purpose.
Is that all you have to say?
That's it, yeah. Ain't I can say about her, is they? Ill thought out, shocking.
What we have is a draft vision of the potential layout. This is not meant to be an exact situation or exact final details. This is there for a draft situation just so we can review it. Any questions from the members? Either. Indeed. Councillor Cape.
I've followed the issue of the lily pad fountain. What this sketch doesn't actually show is that I believe that most of the planters and trees are going to be put in so that they're movable, so that the thing can be opened up and can be configured so as best to suit. I also believe that one of the most recent things coming as a result of it is the knife angel, which is educational against one of the biggest problems in the borough at the moment, which is knife crime, sadly. So that anything that can come in like that as a temporary basis for a good initiative is, I think, positive. And when we're talking about shoddy workmanship, it was only once that the lily pad was removed that some of the market traders actually identified that the reason that the smell was coming out was that there was an open sewer there that had been built over. So, you know, if you want to talk about shoddiness, let's look back at the history, because it wasn't all singing and dancing and beautiful.
Thank you, Councillor Cape. Councillor, do you still wish to speak, Councillor Conagle?
Yes, if I may. A couple of things. I mean, the big thing that talking to people in the town was, it was the benches that were really important, not the fountain. I mean, the views of the fountain are mixed, but people really wanted places to sit down, particularly on a Wednesday and a Saturday. And unfortunately, this diagram is in black and white, and the new benches are red and the old benches are blue, or the other way round. And we effectively just get two new benches. And one of the things, like I said earlier, is when the market's in at the moment, the benches effectively opposite what used to be the O2 shop or Cellnet shop, so opposite where Marks and Spencer's were. One side, the benches are totally covered with market stalls. So you're down to just two benches there. And if we've got more space, we should actually be trying to free those benches up by shuffling things along. And trying, because say, particularly on a Wednesday market, there's an awful lot of people who are just pottering, they'll do something and they'll sit down for a while. And we cannot afford to lose more footfall. And the other thing is, all the benches are quite short and the same size. And the unique thing about the long bench we had around the fountain was, it was longer so people with bigger families could gather or whatever, or a couple could meet another couple. And on this plan, the two new benches you put in to replace them have got two bins between them. And so I do think if we're trying to get more of a friendly meeting point, we should actually rearrange that and have benches and then flower bed, potty things on the outside. And also, it seems mad that we're doing all this work later, so we have to dig holes in our new block paving again. And so we should have been on top of this 6 months ago, so that when all the work was done, we could actually put in the new benches at the same time as doing the block paving. And this pit for the Christmas tree means you're going to dig a hole in the middle of your new block paving. How's that going to work? So it really needs to be planned a lot better and not do jobs twice, because that involves more road closure notices, more negotiation and more cost. And I say I really want to put a plea out seating areas, because particularly a town with the demographic we have, we need a lot of seating areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Condacor. Councillor Brown, you wish to come in.
Thank you, Chair. I fully support this going through, because what we've done is remove something that was ugly, was a magnet for antisocial behaviour, and we created a new versatile adaptive space, which we've already seen is going to be used for the Christmas tree, the knife angel, and let's not forget, during the actual construction, we had the short-lived sport of fountaineering was on display. So it was actually quite interesting to watch. And I'm pleased to see there's going to be no more slippage in this programme, that we've got it through. So yeah, it's absolutely fantastic that we are going to about having an adaptive, versatile space, and that we've got standard benches that, they don't have to be bespoke, they don't have to be, more costly, because we want to, have, unique and bespoke choices. Let's put some seating in there. Let's see how it works. I'm quite happy with the sketch plan as a starter. It is what it is. It's a sketch plan. Yeah, I see these every day in my day job, and they're then worked up into something, I hasten to say more concrete, given what we've just taken away, but something a bit more, detailed. And I look forward to seeing that in due course. But I fully support this going through, despite the asinine comments we've had from some people at different times about this issue.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Thank you indeed. As you quite rightly said, this is just a draft vision of what potentially it could be like. Again, it's something that we could bring forward again to a working party looking at the marketplaces, etc., because it is an issue within the market to manage the stallholders, for the people who visit the market. I do take it on board what you're saying, Councillor Condacol, with regards to the demographic of the the people who do visit the town. But I also would agree with Councillor Brown with regards to the cost of standardised benches going to be far less than the cost of, shall we say, tailor-made ones as such. So yeah, we can put this through to the working party as part of that, regards to the marketplace, etc. But as it is a vision, it is a potential view of what it could be like. And yes, the whole idea of opening up that central area was to say for it to be a versatile area whereby different activities, etc., could be centred on, like the Christmas tree and various other things, like the knife angel that's coming here to be displayed. And that openness gives us the opportunity now to use the town centre in a better, more beneficial way for everybody. Councillor Green, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Chair. I had the pleasure of visiting the Knife Angel while it was in Coventry, and as a school governor locally, the education, not only the footfall it will bring to the market to support market traders, etc., the amount of people which come and visit it, the education to our schools about, obviously, not the use of knives is vital. And so I really support the council in making this area empty so it can host a whole array of events rather than looking at a fountain. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Green. Any other comments regarding to this? Councillor Cape, thank you.
Yeah. Just going back to what you said about it being a draft and a proposal, are we going to have, and I know you pushed for it at the last meeting to get this for us, can we actually ensure that there is a discussion and some debate about what it actually finally looks at? And there is perhaps a little bit of confusion with it only being a draft. I know that others have said that they deal with it on a daily basis, but it seems to say here that the seating can be moved as well, so that therefore, I'm not sure how that's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to involve block paving being dug up, or, you know, I'm not an expert on it, but I'd like to know what that is actually going to look like, and how many of these movable seating areas there will be. So as long as we can have another look at it, I think it's a good thing, and I'd be happy to put it forward to the next stage.
Thank you, Councillor Cape. Obviously, looking at the report has come to us from the principal building surveyor, and obviously from his point of view, we can then assess what's viable in the town centre, but also what would be desired, shall we say, for everybody. Councillor Condacor.
The term slippage was mentioned. We don't have a date for when these virtual benches become real benches. So I think we do need to get a date, because people cannot sit on virtual benches.
Again, appreciate that. Take that on board. Thank you. Any other comments regarding to the item? In which case we shall move forward. Thank you. Item number, item 9. Sorry, Councillor Brown. My apologies. Are we all happy to take on board the recommendations of this report? Those in favour? Those against? I take that as passed. Approved. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Brown. Sorry, move forward then to item number 9, which is the overview, the annual report of the overview committee. Mr. Smith, you're down to speak on this item. Thank you.
The regeneration projects, like I say, the people involved ain't here anyway. These special insect groups that have been allowed to destroy our town, they've managed to destroy a once thriving market town. The Abbey Street car park was a vital component in the customer base for the bringing of over 250,000 visits to the town a year, 500,000 in revenue. The council, this loss in visits and revenue will never be recovered by any of the projects suggested for the car park. And the cost to residents for borrowing to fund these projects,
what does this relate to the annual report?
To injury.
Mr.
Having
Smith,
now found other places to shop.
Mr. Smith.
It's regeneration. There's no information
Excuse
here.
me.
But the people that we could address with it are not here, are they?
Item number 9.
You don't make the decisions.
Item number 9 is relating to the
you
annual
just borrow the
report
money
of
on
this
behalf
committee.
of our kids
If
to
you
pay
have
for it.
a direct question relating to that, that's fine. But please, relate to the questions and not
I
ramble
reported
on.
the programme. The contents of this report are noted. What report? Where? They've never here to answer any questions.
What you
The
see,
people
what
making these decisions are
what you
never
see
here
in front of you
to
is the
answer any questions.
Mr.
We
Smith,
never get any information.
Mr. Smith, what you see in front of you is the different
It's nothing.
items that have come before this committee
Lots
over the
and lots
last
and
12
nothing.
months. That's what the annual report states.
Lots of nothing. Yeah, lots of nothing. You destroyed this town.
This
You've
report,
allowed
Mr. Smith,
You've allowed outsiders to destroy this town.
Mr. Smith,
You
please.
punch around for votes.
Mr. Smith,
About time you put your hands in your pockets. Stop robbing
Mr.
markets.
Smith, you've had your opportunity to speak and
Yeah.
you're not speaking on the subject matter. Thank you. Turn your microphone off, please. I put this forward to this committee to be noted. All agreed. Thank you. Sorry, Councillor Condacor, sorry about that.
This is obviously the first year of this committee. You've gone through the cycle. we've made no actual recommendations this year. And so I hope next year we get in and do a bit more detailed stuff so we can recommend more. If you look at the column saying recommended actions, it's decidedly empty. So I made this point at Cabinet. And in some ways, it's not total criticism. It's because we're obviously building and going around the cycle. But we do need, in a year's time, to actually be having a better value out of this committee in terms of recommendations and things we can get sorted out and improvements to help the residents with their business and their lives. So I made that comment. I'd also, this is probably good, the annual reports used to be a bit more wordy. They're a spreadsheet now, but when I was a councillor, there was a little paragraph or two on them in the past that sort of picked out in a more sort of English way rather than a spreadsheety way what the committee did and what it felt it was. And that used to be written by the chair. So I think it is useful to have a few words about what the key subjects were, etc. maybe in future reports. And in parochially or whatever, I'd like to actually thank you for being a fairly reasonable chair this year and being reasonably professional. It's a very hard job to chair these meetings. And as the 3 scrutiny panels, I will say you've allowed me to speak more and be more respectful than some of the others. Thank you.
I thank you for that praise, Councillor Condacor. Appreciate it. I'll take it on board. Councillor Cape.
Unfortunately, Mr. Smith just left, and it was one of the points of clarification I was going to make. That to a degree, the Cabinet are criticised when they attend here by some members of the public who have said, you've got Cabinet members who are just there squashing everything, which is totally untrue. They're there to provide us with specific knowledge and facts and be questioned. And then you've got others saying Cabinet members don't turn up, when in fact that isn't true either, because they do turn up, and so that comment was just not valid. I'd also would have liked the chance to ask him what he means by a special interest group, because I know what the term means, but I would like him to be specific on what the special interest groups are that he's referring to, because it's confusing me. It just sounds like a jargon, which doesn't actually tell me what he actually means. So therefore, I can't comment on it. Sorry. And the other point going along with what the councillor said here, yes, it is the first year of the cycle, and I had just discussed previously that now that I know the way it works, there was one item from the last committee that I would have actually put in as a recommendation, but now I'm going to put it forward as a works request. So you'll be seeing that coming through if we're all still on this committee next time. So I am learning, and I do take it on board what you've said.
Thank you, Councillor Cape. And yes, I'd agree with exactly what you said regarding the comments made by Mr. Smith, with relating to the fact that he either does or he doesn't want the members of the Cabinet here to ask questions against. So, yes, a bit confusing there, I agree with that. Councillor Brown.
Thank you, Chair. Just a clarification to pick up on something that Councillor Cape has just said, that it's only since the change of control at the top of the council here that we've actually had Cabinet members at panel meetings able to answer questions. And I think it has brought a lot of focus and help to these committees.
Yes, very valid comment. I think, in all fairness, from a chair, I think it's a very valid aspect that we do have the Cabinet members here that is appropriate to the particular committees. So the questions can be asked rather than being asked without a potential answer. At least the Cabinet members can give their answers today or at the meeting, as per this evening where Councillor Smith gave his answers to Councillor Condacor. And it was opportune that obviously Councillor Condacor had asked the questions previously, which gave Councillor Smith the opportunity to look at the questions and generate an appropriate answer to suit. Are we all happy to carry that for noting that the report? We're all happy with that, thank you. Item 10 is forward plan. Mr. Smith was down to speak, but obviously he's left the building. So that's not appropriate any longer. A couple of items I wish to bring forward that I see that's missing on our forward plan or for the next meetings. We don't seem to have had a report from Officer Malik with regards to PSPOs, an update on that. Yes. Okay. Gotcha, yeah. Because it's not listed as having, it's not listed on the annual report, unless it's been missed off. Well, okay. Okay, that's fine then. My mistake then, my oversight. The other item I looked at was, where are we? Oh, report by Officer Snowden regarding vacant properties, etc. It's not down due until for a year, March 24. I know we had it the last meeting, but I think it'd be more appropriate to be on a 6-monthly basis rather than an annual basis. It seems to be quite a long time. I know issues were raised by Councillor Harbison regarding the Heritage Centre at the last meeting, regarding the vacant properties, there are vacant areas there. And I also raised an issue regards a property in Bedworth that had been not available for 15 or so months. It's still not listed as being ready for occupation. Number 5, Kingsway House. I noticed it the other day when I was in the town, and at the last meeting we was told that was be shortly ready for renting, but it's still not listed as being rented, and visually it isn't ready for renting by the look of it from my point of view, certainly. So I think we need to make sure that's an update rather 6-monthly rather than annually. Councillor Condacor.
Yeah, for next year, it went through the Cabinet on pink papers last month, but the procurement of a website platform, every 5 or 10 years we update our website and put it on a new platform or whatever. But that is one of the things in this committee's control. And obviously the procurement bit, we don't really care who they buy it from. But when they migrate to a new platform or these things, we tend to lose a lot of content, but also have the opportunity to make the website more accessible and more modern. So I think the website new platform should be on the something we look at when it's gone through the procurement process, and so that actually the mitigation works well. We don't lose stuff, and also we can get a few issues fixed. I mean, I know there's lots of issues with the planning part of our website, because if I find an interesting thing on say the top farm planning application, you can't do a link to a document because the way the system works, you have to type in a thing, and there's lots of things that if we're moving platform, we should actually discuss the Scrutiny Committee what things need to change, and also make sure we don't lose the history. A lot of content has been produced which we don't want to lose.
Okay, valid point, Councillor Condacor. If we could note that, please, and perhaps we can have a demonstration, as it were, of the website when it comes live, or pre that. Would that be appropriate? Sound reasonable? Yes? Okay. Any other comments for work programme for the future? No.
Sorry, only that I will.
Sorry, Cal.
Only that I will be submitting one through the formal channels.
Thank you, Councillor Cape. That concludes that one. Item 12, any other business? I haven't got anything. Next meeting is due for the 6th of July. We all happy with that? Councillor Condacor?
Just as an announcement, I may change to a different scrutiny committee next year, so I think it's quite useful to rotate round, and it's always hard. I always want to attend all 3 of them, but it's nothing personal if I go on a different committee next year.
I won't take it as such, Councillor Condacor. Thank you very much for your attendance. I appreciate your input over the last year, those members of this committee, and I thank you very much indeed. Good night.